Alrighty, welcome back. Had a really good session the last couple of weekends. So just wanted to show you the progression of where I was at with the head sculpt. So finished up the original. I was going to kind of use as a template, so to speak, and then made a mold of it and then casted the 3 separate heads. So I've actually finished the sculpting in the braid on this one. Turned out pretty good. It's actually pretty light. I was actually worried that it was going to be kind of heavy, but turned out pretty good. So as you can see, it's just right on there with her. And the head seems to still move and articulate pretty well with the braid and everything. I think it'll make for some really good action poses once it is all said and done. This is basically the halfway point as to, where I was at with this one. Started with the main structure of the hair and then left a little bit at the end to basically build the braid off of once it was actually dried. As you can see, left room for the wings to go underneath the hair here. This one's just going to basically hang down. Speaking of which, I have given up on the fact of making the wings 2 separate pieces, so I have glued them together. I'm going to Dremel that down a little bit and just make them pretty much one piece because I am running out of time at this point, and these wings seem to be the bane of my existence. So as you can see, they just snap up in and seem to be wanting to fall down on me a bit, but hopefully that's just because. But much better result from what I was looking for, opposed to them falling and moving and doing all that weird stuff. So I think we're going to be good there. And then working on the final head sculpt of the screaming. So dremeled down the face, took down the jawline. Still messing with it a bit. It's not quite where I want it to be, but once it is, I'll go ahead and sculpt in the teeth and the tongue, and we're working on the hair from that point on this one. So getting there. Also, because of time restraints, I don't think I'm going to do the cloth cape on the back for anymore. I'm going to use this one off of the Guardians of the Galaxy Angela figure. I think it's going to work really well. We'll get it airbrushed blue, get it on her, and fix the belt. Obviously, the belt's not quite right, but hey, that's what we do. We sculpt, we change things. So once that's all said and done, hopefully after this weekend, I am pretty much ready to paint her and continue with the weapons. Messed around a little bit with some lightning effects with some hot glue. Couldn't find any clear yellow hot glue anywhere here in Denver. We've got some online, but being that I had hot glue and I had yellow dye, this is what I kind of came up with. So I think it looks pretty cool. I'll probably mess with these a little bit more and get some better ones. But basically, essentially, put hot glue around, a couple paint brushes, a couple of my X-Acto knives, and then once it dried, just heated them up with a hair dryer and peeled them off. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of hook those to her weapons and then her armor here to kind of give that lightning effect when the time comes. So that is where we're at. I'm going to get working on finishing up sculpting this hair and these faces, and we will go from there. Good day. So it is November 9th. The ship date is December 1st. So obviously getting close to that. We're less than a month to go. So this is where I'm at with my progress. I realized I started out making a lot of videos, maybe not a lot, but a few, me actually doing the work. And I kind of strayed away from that, from the last part of the videos here. Main reason being, first time I've done this, nervous about finishing on time. I'm definitely not one of those people that thinks it's okay to, not be done within the time selected. You get a lot of people out there busting their asses to get these done, and I don't want to be one of the stragglers. Nonetheless, not an option for me. So, been, cranking out the work and not making a ton of videos. So definitely hats off to Craig Warrock every year for him making just effing amazing customs and documenting damn near everything he does. So hopefully I get better with next year's video, but wanted to show you where I was at here. So I do have most of the body done. I just really need to do some touch up on the paint and everything. But she is almost there. So the cape, what in the hell? I was really glad that wasn't permanently adhered. I thought it turned out pretty good. I really wish I would have had some more Procreate because the green stuff isn't as flexible as I had hoped. It's actually wanting to separate from the original cape because I actually sculpted the sides on to make it look a little bit more like the figure instead of it just coming up here. Added those pieces on, but hopefully with a little bit of heat, if it needs to, basically sit on anything, per my surprise, then it hopefully can. I keep saying it rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. But this is kind of where I'm at. A little bit of touch up left. You can see kind of here and there we've got a little bit of paint missing, but I did airbrush the cape. And looks like some of it has come off as it's bent and, worked and whatnot, but that's typical, usually happens. Looks like we got a little bit of rub going on there, so I will need to do a little bit of modification, but not a big deal. So ultimately, should be pretty good. She's getting a little bit top heavy. I've kind of come to the conclusion that she's probably not going to be able to stand with the wings, but I actually found a stand from one of my Play Arts Final Fantasy figures that I probably no longer have or have used as fodder for making other Play Arts Final Fantasy figures. It's a clear one, so I actually posed her on this when I sent my pictures to Ethan for the check-in. It looks pretty badass, so usually looks like she's flying, obviously, so might be good for her to stand displayed, without the wings, and then obviously on the Play Arts stand with the wings, so we can do different various poses and whatnot. So anyway, that is where the body is at. Real quick at the wings, like I experimented a little bit with, trying to do different tones and everything in them, and airbrushing the gold back over it. It just looked kind of funky, so I decided to leave them just the gold tone, but as you can kind of see as the light hits them, you definitely get a little bit of different variance in color. It's not quite as monochromatic as I thought it would be after completion. The wings tightened up too. That's one thing I was kind of nervous about, is that they were kind of loose, but with all the layers of paint and clear coat, seems to be just fine. So they just click right in how they need to, and there we go. So like I said originally, was hoping to have them two separate entities so they could go up and down, but they still have their back and forth as well as the left and right. So the fact that they don't, pivot this way, I'm not losing sleep over, so anymore, that is. But as you can see, once again, just strictly using magnets, so there's no holes or anything there, so it just clicks right on and kind of goes for that desired effect that I was hoping for. All right, on to the next thing. So I think I showed the lightning earlier. I'm experimenting around. I haven't made the weapons yet. That's the next step. So once the heads are painted and the body's finished, once the actual figure's done, I still have weapons to do. Once those are done, then I'm hoping to move on to the surprise, but I am going to be crunched for time, like I said, moving forward. But anyway, I had, this is actually a piece out of the original wings that was basically, went through the middle that held them together. And what I did is kind of experimented with actually some clear resin with some dye. I know this looks very phallic. I will resculpt, but this was just basically kind of an experiment with this to kind of get like our almost kind of clear weapon. So what I'm probably going to do is at least the bigger weapon she has, make 2 versions, an actual gold painted one and then hopefully a clear one as well. I'm not sure how I would pull off the chains with a clear cast unless I actually sculpted them. So my goal was to actually take a chain like this and glue it in a specific position, and then once it was glued, sculpt over it and then airbrush. But we'll see what comes of it. You know, if I've got a week or so devoted to just strictly working on the weapons, I will figure it out. So the hair and the head armor on all 3 units are completely painted. However, as you can see, I have them all masked off from the airbrushing. So what I've done is, the only thing that's exposed now is all of her skin. So I am getting ready to paint all 3 of these. Pretty happy with how the screaming face turned out. You know, I think I did a little bit too much sculpting up by the eyes here. A little bit too much excess skin with her face supposed to be all scrunched up there, but I might take a Dremel or a X-Acto knife to it and tone it down a bit. But ultimately I was pretty happy with how the screaming face turned out. So she will see, this one here is the one I'm going to do with the red eyes, and hopefully once I get everything unmasked, I might just do a little bit of reflection in the silver of red as well, just because it should reflect any light that's near it. And this is just the normal pose with her there. So pretty excited about how it's turning out. I have no doubts that I should be able to finish the main figure on time. Hopefully, you know, like I said, within next week, we should be done with that. But I will hastily work, yet, you know, work with accuracy on getting this prize part of this done. But if it doesn't get finished, it doesn't get finished, unfortunately. However, I will be done with the figures. So anyway, we'll see whether or not here I can actually try to pull off painting and filming a little bit as well here in a bit. So that's where I'm on to now. As always, thanks for watching, and we will be customizing on.